Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to Predatory Exotics.
Today we have got a banging video for you guys. It is the first ever reptile room tour from both of us here at Predatory Exotics. You're going to get to see around our whole room, all our setup, all the different species we have. Really hope you enjoy it because we've got so much to show you. The whole setup that we've been working on for ages now, planning it for over a year, and it's finally here. We've set it all up and we can't wait to show you guys. So we're going to start off over in this corner of the room. We use Big Dug racking for all of our racking throughout the room. They're both 1.6 metre rackings. That means we can get all these exoterras on there nicely. 60 centimetres deep, so obviously you can get all your 45 centimetre exoterras on there. We've got two of these. We have sort of an arid one here and then a jungle one. So we'll go through this one now. Really happy with this setup. We've got tons of different tanks, so we've laid it out sort of to almost inch perfect. We've got our 90 centimetre tank down here. There's a space down here for a 60 centimetre tank, but obviously we've currently got our 45 centimetre one, and you'll find out what is in there in a minute. If we go up to the next shelf, we can nicely fit two 45s and a 60 centimetre long on there, or alternatively you can see on the shelf above we've got a 90 centimetre instead of the two 45s, and then that's 60 centimetre again. Then we've got the top one. As you can see there, you can get a 45 centimetre tool, but it doesn't leave any room for lighting. So probably what we're going to do is fill out this shelf with 30 centimetre high tanks, because that allows us to get that lighting on there and we can get a few more different species on it. So if we crack on with the first species in our reptile room tour, down the bottom is our Stenodactylus. These are dwarf sand geckos. They come from Northern Africa and the Middle East. Super awesome. We found them just over a year ago now. They're super cool species and quite a lot of varieties, you'll see in a minute. So as they come from North Africa and the Middle East, they require a hot, arid setup. So you can see this sand. Obviously sand is somewhat of a controversial substrate, but they are sand geckos, so they will comfortably live on sand and there won't be any issues as long as we're keeping the husbandry correct. So as you can see with this setup, it's a really nice excavator clay setup. So all throughout the middle and the back, we've created caves, hides, little ramp up to the top, so it's a dual layer enclosure. This provides the gecko with so much more room to sort of explore. They've got the hotspot up the top, but also a hotter section at the bottom below that hotspot. So if we go ahead and try and find our first Stenodactylus, always look up on the hotspot. And there's one of them. So this is actually our female Stenodactylus, and she is quite friendly. They're obviously quite delicate geckos because they're so small, but you can see these, obviously dwarf sand geckos is one of the names for them, but they're also called jeweled sand geckos because obviously the pattern, you've got these awesome different markings down the back of the gecko. Super awesome. Oh. And you can see the female's quite big. You'll see in a minute the different males and stuff. But she's an awesome gecko and she's produced loads of eggs for us as well. So get her back in. And if we lift up, you can see how some of them are quicker than others. So this is another one of our males that we have down the bottom. It's just normal coloration, a little bit darker than the female. Tend to found that females are a lighter coloration. And up the top is one of our prettiest ones we've got. This is another male, and as you can see, it's super orange. The males are a lot more skittish than the females we have discovered, but this one's a beautiful species, beautiful example of the species, and something we're really proud of to have, and hopefully that comes out in our breeding projects. And then, as I mentioned a minute ago, we've actually produced eggs from this. So there's one other gecko in here that we're holding back, and that's actually a really dark example of the species. We have this one here. That is really dark in coloration in comparison to the other ones, so that's why we decided to hold it back. Not sure if it's a male or female, but something that's really different. So we have the normal lighter coloured as well as this dark one and the orange. So it's a really nice variation and something that we're looking to reproduce in the future. And then as we move up on the racking, we have two enclosures here that actually hold the same species. This is something a lot more unknown species, but something that we're really interested in and really proud of here at Predatory Exotics. These are actually wedge-snouted skinks. Unfortunately, we can't see them very well at the moment, so I'll talk you through the setup and we'll show some pictures in a second. So again, these are from North Africa and the Middle East, a little bit smaller range than the Stenodactylus, but they do actually overlap their range as well. You might actually be able to see. There is actually one poking their head out. They are a lot like, if you know about slow worms, they're a type of skink, so they have very tiny legs, so they're pretty much fossorial. They'll spend most of the time under the substrate looking for different grubs and insects and stuff like that. And this one's a baby. So actually we have two tanks. So this one is our baby tank and this one's our adult tank. We actually successfully reproduced this species from 4 adults. I think 1 is a female, and we got 4 little babies. So something we're really proud of, as not a lot of people have done in the hobby, as there's a lot of controversy between substrates and heating, and not a lot is known about the species. So as you can see here, we use a sand soil mix of substrate, whereas a lot of people will use just sand. So we're really pleased that this is working, and we know our animals are happy, and really love this setup as it's so naturalistic, and even the sort of long grass we've got replicates the vegetation in the sand dunes where they would naturally live. And then going up even one shelf higher is our first snake that we're going to show you. Something that I'm really passionate about is actually sand boas. So very recently we actually got a Kenyan Sandbar. This is probably the most common sand boa in the hobby, but nonetheless it is an awesome species. The only problem with this, they are again a fossorial species, so they will tend to hide under the substrate for most of the time. But once you get them out, they are an awesome snake. So they are a boa, so they give live birth, and we will look into breeding these in the future. And you can see the sand boas have their eyes on top of their head, because obviously they will put the eyes out of the substrate and hopefully catch a mouse. But the coloration, this is a wild type coloration, the orange and brown, super awesome, something I really love. And an awesome feature about this snake is they have smooth scales all the way down their body, but up towards the tail is these keeled rough scales. It's an awesome feature of the snake, and this one is super friendly. So glad we got her. It is a female, about just over 2 years old. So in a year's time we might look into pairing with another one, and this one's actually het for snow. So it's het for anery as well as albino. So we could look into producing some snows in the future. You can see that classic sand boa technique. She's rubbing her nose in, hoping she can dig away. But we want to show you her for the camera because she is such a beautiful snake. And then as we put her in, you'll obviously see she disappears pretty much straight away, as they tend to burrow straight down. So this is probably our most simplistic setup that we have. It's just the lignocell, which is a softwood shaving, so it hasn't got any splinters and stuff. She wouldn't actually need any of these hides because the substrate acts as its own hide, but she has a nice hot basking spot on using a heat mat on that back right hand corner. She's got her substrate and hide all in one, as well as a water dish for fresh water. So that's all they need. Don't even need the light. We just put an LED just for our own display pleasure. And then off she goes, disappearing into the substrate. Then the last reptile on this thing, we have showed you already the adults. We kept one of the babies back on the bottom, but we also have some babies up here. This is another Stenodactylus tank. Again, we designed it based on our adult tank as it was so successful. So the Exoterra. So we've got the excavator clay background with the logs and the slate built in. And I don't know if you can see, there's one baby right on the top on that basking spot. They tend to hide quite a lot, and some of them are absolutely tiny. But we're raising these ones up. We've sold a few. We'll raise these ones up and we'll actually show you the eggs in a minute as well. Well, we have two more invertebrates on this shelving. These are our Asian forest scorpions that we have. One has actually molted recently, so that one you'll be able to see. You can see the molt just here, which is pretty cool in of itself. And then underneath, we've got this almost pinky looking scorpion rather than the normal black coloration. It hasn't fully hardened, so we can't mess about with it too much, but a super awesome scorpion. We used to have an adult of this species, but now we just have the babies that we're going to look to raise up and hopefully get some adults in the future that we can maybe even breed. So that's that one, and then we have one underneath as well, which you'll see the difference in colour variation, just because obviously this one has been in this stage of its molt for a longer time. You can see how it turns that jet black. The only pink coloration is in between those, in between the sort of sections of its exoskeleton. But you can see the different coloration, and they're super cool. I love them at this size, but once they get to palm size, they're awesome to handle and a really friendly scorpion species if you are looking for one. And then as well, we've got all these empty tanks that we're looking to fill. We obviously have a lot of equipment and a lot of live food in our system as well. So these are going to be filled over the next few months or even a year. We're going to fill it with so many different species. But that is it for our arid one. So I'll pass you over to Ollie over on our jungle one.
Alright, so moving over to the cooler racking. I can see Tom behind the camera shaking his head. Alright, so as you can see, I've got the same size racking as Tom has, with kind of larger tanks, well, taller tanks. As you can see, it's starting off, it's 3 shelves as opposed to 4, because this is the jungle one, so this is a lot more height, needing a lot more climbing space. So we're going to start off with the bottom shelf. Down hidden away, I've got all the kind of like misting system and all that. This is all down here, which runs all the wires behind the back and mists the 2 tanks at the top, the 2 largest ones we have set up. But starting off, we've got down here our first ever snake we got here at Predator Exotics. This is a snow corn snake, which is such an awesome snake. I've really gotten into corn snakes recently, and we're going to try and find out where. There, first one. Now this one is of course a lot quicker than Tom's other one. So let's try and get you out now. Come on. Come on. And as you can see, it's such a beautiful colour. Quite calm when you actually get out handling, considering this is a really young species right now, and kind of not really used to handling. But look at that, how cool the colour is, this snow morph, which obviously one we're going to want to breed in the future. A little bit flighty, but definitely getting calmer, and tonight's food night, so going to be getting fed. We're in belief that it's a male, but we haven't fully done any testing or anything. But just from looks and kind of like tail size, we're in a slight belief that it's a male. So I'm going to go ahead and pop him back in his enclosure. As you can see, we've not really gone for a simplistic enclosure with this one. We've gone for kind of the orchid bark, which will keep the humidity nice. What you've just seen him slither into is a humid hide in the back, and then of course we just have some natural hides, which are for smaller snakes anyway. This snake's going to get up to probably about 5 foot-ish, 4 or 5 foot, so we're going to have to upgrade it definitely to a bigger tank eventually. But right now we've got it in the Exoterra 45 cube with a wonderful deep heat projector. This thing is ridiculous. Deep heat projectors are amazing. The amount that it's heating up actually inside the tank, it's just creating like a little environment just in there for it. Because you don't need the temperatures, it's around room temperature, but the basking spot you have at about 30. This heats it up perfectly and heats up the surrounding area as well. And then of course just fake plants and some fake logs as well, because they actually do enjoy climbing, which is a nice little feature. We do witness him climbing about at night, but definitely when you feed these guys, super cool. You know, constricting the prey, it looks so cool. But that's our snake. We haven't named this one. We're still waiting upon a name. Once we sex it, I think we'll give it a name. But moving up to this second shelf where you actually start to get more of the tanks. Right now we've got our longest tank just used for storage. Got all of kind of like our supplies and extra bits in there. And then we've got two 45 tools, 30 45s, which actually are two different brands. We've got the Zoomed one, which is the front opening single, and then we've got the Exoterra dual, and currently the Exoterra is the only one in use. We have a few plans for these ones, but we're kind of still trying to plan everything out. But this is one of the most recent additions to the collection, and this is our Pac-Man frog. Now hopefully you're going to be able to see the Pac-Man frog who's hidden away in the dirt there. If not, you can get loads of images and stuff on our Instagram, and the cool part is you can also see them from the side as well. So of course you've got to be careful when handling amphibians because of their skin and how they breathe through their skin, but I'll give this guy a little bit of a nudge. Hopefully he'll jump out. There we go. Gives you a bit of better view. He's getting so big we have no idea if it's a male or a female. Because it's quite hard to sex amphibians, so we just call it he for now. But as you can see, getting super big and feeding on, you know, your roaches and your mice, your pinky mice, which is awesome. Personally, one of my favourite ones. I'd love to get a couple. Breeding them could be a bit of a challenge just because of how many babies you get, but such a cool species, and I can't wait until they're like this big, and we're going to have to upgrade them to a 45 or something like that. Now, moving up to the top shelf, this is the one that's actually fully finished in terms of how we're planning the tanks out. We've got two 45-60s, and then we've got a 60-60, which is awesome. So the 60-60, I'll start with the empty one. We're planning to have two female crested geckos in for breeding. The middle one is one of the most recent builds that we've done. It currently doesn't have anything in there, but the live plants are in there rooting themselves, which is a super cool one. We have got something planned for that, but we're not going to spoil it on this reptile room tour. It will probably be in the next one. And then this one, which has recently had a makeover, added some more live plants, changed the layout and such. And this holds our crested gecko Pip, who we are in belief is a male, still growing up, still waiting to sex it properly. But you should be able to see just around the side, he sleeps in the same part every night. There he is. And of course becomes super active because they are a nocturnal species, so they're out and about during the night. But this is basically the the racking of the jungle section, which is awesome. So many more different things planning to be done here. It just takes a lot of time. Now, we talk about it a lot with the arid and the jungle. The jungle, I have to wait for plants to root, I have to buy new plants, live plants to have it all bioactive, springtails, isopods, all of that kind of stuff. So it does cost quite a bit, but I think it's coming along nicely and it's looking really good. So moving on to the kind of like the odd section of our actual reptile room that doesn't have any racking. If you listen to the podcast, we discuss this on what we're actually planning to do with this section. So as you can see at the bottom, we've got Loki in our 4-foot enclosure. Currently he's shedding, so he's a bit grumpy and probably hidden away. There he is. So we're not going to disturb him too much and let him sleep. But as you can see, he is of course in the wooden viv. This is the only wooden viv we currently have in the actual reptile room. But we do plan on stacking them on top of each other and creating, you know, kind of to the roof high of 4 foot, maybe 2 foot, 2 foot, 4 foot. We talk about it a lot in the podcast, so don't forget to go and check that out because we explain it a lot more on what we're planning to do with this. But currently sitting on top, we have our selection of mantids. I'm going to start off with these three over here, which are the three that I purchased. And we're going to start off with this one, who has just currently recently molted This is a ghost mantis who went off food for about 5 weeks, didn't eat at all, and we were like, oh no, you know, is it gonna die? And then suddenly, out of the blue, it's just molted, which is cool. And then moving on to my bottom two, which are the largest ones. I currently have this one, which you can see has a heat bulb. This is the devil flower mantis, which is a super cool mantis, but kind of hard to keep, I found. It's a very picky eater, but it has molted quite a few times, and as you can see, it's growing nice and large. We have also put out a care guide in case you guys are wanting to keep these more difficult species. And now the largest mantis that we own, who is the biggest gal ever. I don't think has got too many molts left in her. This is the Congo green mantis, and as you can see, she is huge in comparison to the other mantids, but probably one of the ones that's grown up the quickest. I bought these two at the same time, so that kind of gives you a comparison on how big of a size difference is. And then this one I bought I think a month later or something, so they're all growing at different speeds, which is crazy to see considering they only have a certain lifespan. How quickly some of them growing, how quickly some of them aren't growing, which is crazy. But I'm going to pass you over now to Tom, who has got the final one.
So this one is my one, arguably the most boring mantis we have, but I tend to like it. If you can spot it before I tell you where it is, then good on you, because a lot of people can't. But this is actually an African twig mantis. It's actually on the underside of here. There he is, trying to attack me. But they're literally so well blended in with the sticks. They come from those dry shrubs in sort of Eastern Africa. So they'll blend in perfectly. That's what we've gone with this setup. The dried leaves and the dried twigs. So it literally blends in. Obviously it's not the most colourful mantis out there, but something really unique, and the camouflage is something that really should be appreciated, because it's something that's super cool in my opinion and doesn't get enough credit.
So guys, that brings it to the end of the reptile room tour. We're going to be trying to do this like every couple of months or so, because sometimes it's a bit slower, sometimes it's a bit quicker on how quickly things update in the room, especially, you know, with money. We have to try and plan things. It's not just like you can go out and buy everything. You have to take your time, research the animals and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's something we're big on here. We don't want to just start hoarding animals, buying animals every week just to show you. We have like carefully planned, like honestly meticulously planned which animals are going to go in which tanks. Obviously we are sometimes find new ones that we have to do, and we tend to take a couple months researching these new animals because we want to get the husbandry correct. But definitely going to fill all these up. Going to have an awesome reptile room tour in a couple months time, and then a couple months time after that we're going to keep you updated with everything, as well as decorating it all as well. We didn't really mention it, but we are going to look to decorate all this racking.
Yeah, literally like kit out the whole room.
Yeah, so
is what we're planning.
We have the different themes, obviously the arid one, the jungle one and stuff. We're looking to deck them out in sort of an arid rocky one and then a jungle one. That will all be coming soon. Hopefully that's in the next reptile room tour, if not the one after.
So guys, we hope you have enjoyed, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Of course, we said like we'd try and do it every couple of months, but it might start off a bit random on when the actual like room tours come out, but then eventually we hopefully will be doing it monthly. Yeah. But we hope you guys have enjoyed. So don't forget to leave a like, comment down below what you think of our room tour, what you think we should add in terms of reptiles, some suggestions.
What is your favourite one?
Yeah, what's your favourite one?
What is your favourite one?
I think it's the jungle ones. I think it's the jungle ones. But we hope you guys have enjoyed, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.